Well, it's week 4 of the LCS with coverage brought to you by Alienware. I'm joined right now by Zeyzal from Evil Geniuses to talk about their big win over Immortals. All right, so Zeyzal, all the analysts today, they predicted Immortals because they were, I think, second place. You guys have been climbing out after some unfortunate losses. So what really led you guys to have such a good showing in today's match?
I think our draft was really good for one. I mean, I'm not sure if they prepared for Yuumi, and they pretty much picked a weak bot lane right away, and if you pick a weak bot lane, you can't punish Yuumi's early game, and then it becomes difficult in that regard. And I think also they just kind of played passive, so we got a bit lucky with the Infernal Soul. It's pretty much one of the better souls you can get. Ocean, Infernal, both really strong. So we were able to be really strong in mid-game, and they were conceding a lot up to that point. So I think combined with them just not drafting the strongest early game, us having a good pick into their weak early game, and then getting a lucky RNG Dragon Soul.
I'm gonna take my glasses off because my YouTube commenters will scream at me if you're getting blinded and I am not. So we're both gonna suffer through this together. That early game situation with I guess the invade that you guys caught out and got the double kill. What was the reaction on the team whenever that ended up happening?
So actually they made a bit of a mistake. They showed Braum early and that he had sweeper. So our first instinct is like, well, this guy's gonna late invade us. You know, you basically never start a sweeper unless you're planning to late invade. So if you watched our wards, we placed 2 entrance wards and 1 in the red bush, and that allows you to contest the red. So we pretty much knew they were gonna invade. We said we actually talked about it during loading. Like if we see Braum with the sweeper, he's probably gonna invade. We can win by poking, and then we won by poking. So it was like, I think we were kind of prepared for it. Jizuke was pretty happy with his double kill, I'm sure, but I think we were pretty prepared for it, so it wasn't as big a surprise in the moment.
The evil genius master plan, as it were, from the beginning of the game. I want to ask you also about Yuumi. You mentioned Yuumi. I believe Yuumi got buffs this patch, correct?
Yeah, on 10.3,
Yes.
they made a change. The change was bad, and then they hotfixed it, and
Okay.
then now Yuumi is in a pretty good spot.
Okay. Yeah, because what's funny is I remember when Yuumi first came out, as the sun is setting, by the way, it's going to get darker in this interview. When Yuumi first came out, very, very strong. And then I think there was a lot of speculation. A lot of people felt like, is this a champion that can even exist in the game without either being both broken or just awful? But you feel like seemingly good spot.
It's hard. I think you can punish it right now, but I'm not convinced Yuumi can ever really be in what I'd say a good spot. I'm kind of in agreement with that. I think if teams are willing to pick Yuumi, then that pretty much means Yuumi's really strong.
Okay.
Because the only counterplay is spam killing it early game.
So Yuumi might be OP right now.
Could be, yeah. I mean, honestly, we haven't had that much time to play Yuumi. The 10.3 patch was really recent, and we were actually fortunate that we played on Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
So we watched all of LEC, saw their priority. I was pretty much already practicing Yuumi just in case the buff was relevant. So, I mean, it felt pretty good, and we saw a really good scenario for it.
I can feel you actively dodging my questions right now as I try to find out if Yuumi's OP or useless. You're
Yeah,
like,
I
maybe, I don't, who knows?
I can't just give away all our draft
Yes,
I mean,
that's
we first picked it on blue, and they could pick anything they wanted to counter it.
Yes.
So it is a very strong pick, and there's only like a few answers.
Yes, I gotcha. All right, let's talk about EG, because EG, I think, a team that a lot of people didn't know where to place, but I think thought you guys would have a better start out the gate than you have. So what is it that you think has held the team back?
I think there's a misconception a bit about the foundation of our team, because so it's Svenskeren and I, but a lot of people include Kumo, like we have a lot of experience playing with him, but we only played with him for 2 weeks, and that was week 7 of the last split we played on Cloud9, Summer Split 2019. So we played with Kumo for 2 weeks in Summer Split of 2019. So it's kind of, it was a lot for us to adjust to, not only Kumo, but also we basically got 2 new carries. A lot of teams stayed with their mid AD, which are the 2 strongest carry positions. So we had a lot of time adjusting to Jizuke's wild playstyle was one. I mean, that was kind of harder to adjust to, but I mean, it's really, really high payout. So once you adjust to it, it's really nice. And then Bang's also much more quiet than sneaky. So basically, Svenskeren and I have to adjust to communicating around Bang and with Bang more and coordinating a lot of stuff with him.
Yeah.
So I think just it was a lot of adjustment, and it might not have looked like it just because we brought over 3 pieces of Cloud9 in the past.
So when I interviewed you and Svenskeren at the Asset Day before the split started, you guys were really excited about playing with Jizuke, and you had a lot to say. Then it started, and I feel like a lot of the analysts have been excited but also concerned about Jizuke. So I'm curious. Are you still confident in the crazy decisions he makes? Because there was a moment where he dived mid tower today that definitely did not seem as though it was like the best decision.
So I didn't actually watch that in game, but I heard him say, "Okay, I entered." That's what he said, word for word. "Okay, I entered," and then I wasn't really too worried about it. I expect it at multiple times, but there's also, he's just a really, really strong player in mechanics and laning, so it's something, you take the good and the bad with him, but it's like his bad side with those super aggressive plays, a lot of the time it can turn out good, especially on stage, but there has been certain habits we had to fix, and I think I'm getting more confident as time goes on with him, because it's a lot of those little habits that make his play style a lot more punishing to the enemy, but there's also habits that are just like super greedy, and we have to work those out.
You just need to make him just pull back a little bit, and maybe that'll be the sweet spot.
Yeah, it's just a lot of little things that really don't make sense when he does them, and then you're just like, well, this doesn't work in a team, Jizuke. You can't do this. And then he's actually really receptive to that kind of stuff, so it's not like he's set on being this insane, always diving mid-tier 1 solo kind of player.
Even though he did dive mid-tier 1 solo today.
Yeah, but that was his choice. He wasn't forced to do it in this case. He just chose to, you know?
I understand. That's true. I'm not sure if I'm following. But so tomorrow you face off against Cloud9. And unfortunately, this interview will have come out after that match. But obviously, a bit of a rivalry. Jack has been saying no refunds, I think, regarding the transfer. I asked him about it yesterday, and he said, that's more oriented towards the EG staff and executives than about the players. Obviously, he thinks highly of you guys. But what is on your mind as you're heading into that Cloud9 match, especially as they're undefeated?
I think that they're actually undisputed the strongest team right now, obviously. Their scoreline says it, but also they aren't as dominant, I think, as a lot of people seem to think. Their games have been close, and they've had a lot of fights that were close. Like, just off the top of my head, they ended up stomping FlyQuest, but there was that fight in mid lane, I think, where C9 had, like, double Zonias at, like, 1 HP, but if those two die, they can lose Dragon, mid-turret, Rift. I don't recall the exact scenario, but it's like they take skirmishes and they win them because they're super good mechanically, but we also win our skirmishes early games, so I think if we can pull out the early skirmish and win those, then it'll kind of be a big blow to their play style, because I don't think any team has actually beaten them in early skirmishes yet.
So you think, I think TSM, no, never mind.
TSM won the first one, which I was really surprised, actually. They won the first one in right below Raptor Pit, where Bjergsen got a double kill,
So that was the one thing I was trying to think of, is like, I guess that did go pretty well. But regardless, so it sounds like you think, yes, big challenge, obviously dominant, but maybe still a little vulnerable.
Yeah, I think that our strength is also early skirmishing, and we get a lead a lot of the time around mid jungle, and that's where they start their lead. They just snowball it into bot really well, and their bot lane's also really good, so they just play so well as like the bot side of the map just being so strong, but that's also how we tend to play.
Do you think in getting ready for this match that you and Dennis and Kumo have insight that you can share, like against the players that you're playing? Like, here's how we're going to go up against Licorice, and because I assume even like Kumo and Licorice probably scrimmed a lot between Academy and main roster, that type of stuff.
I think Kumo has a lot of individual experience against Licorice, a whole lot. So I think that'll play to his advantage mostly, because Kumo's gotten better, whereas it's really hard. Licorice is already a great player. It's kind of hard. It's harder to get better once you're at the top than it is for like Kumo to come in as a rookie and get better. Right. So he might Kumo might be overperforming compared to what Licorice expects, but for me in the bot lane, I don't really know Sven or Vulcan. Like, I haven't played them much, and I think Dennis knows Blabber quite well. Okay. So I'm not sure how much Dennis can use that to his advantage, but he definitely knows Blabber. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Is there anything you want to say to any of the fans out there?
Just thanks for supporting me. I'm happy we could get some wins.
Well, thank you for the interview. Congratulations on the big win today. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all